Hi, I'm KK, and today I want to talk to you about my 60-30-10 rule. Why some people grow and thrive and earn more, and why others don't. So having a background in a couple of key industries, right? I work very specifically in the fitness, beauty, health, and wellness industries. I have found that there is a clear recipe to success and understanding who will get there and who will not. And this is going to sound extremely cutthroat if you're not a part of the upper echelon of the algorithm that I've created, but I truly believe it's important for you to understand and self-analyze where you're at. So my 60-30-10 analysis is understanding like who are the people that are going to be driving the change and the innovation and the growth of the industry that you work in. And I believe whether you're thinking about the fitness, beauty, health, wellness, or even technology as an industry, this is always a consistent thing that you can rely on. 60% of people in this industry are literally at the bottom. They're always starting something new and stopping it. They're struggling to get by. And frankly, they don't really have what it takes to get to the next level. Again, this sounds harsh, but I believe that in a winner-takes-all economy, which is what we're living in, there has to be winners and losers. And although I struggle with calling the 60% losers, I do believe that 60% of any industry are usually the people who make workers, that make maybe even phenomenal assistants. Perhaps they become excellent consumers and give feedback in a way that really resonates with the growth and the needs of the industry. But they're not the rainmakers, the world changers, and the money makers. They are the people that support those people. So 60% of this industry that you're thinking of are support staff. They're people who are typically employed, typically helping out or freelancing and just kind of supporting the growth of someone else's dream, helping to build someone else's business. And I think being in the background rather than the foreground. Okay, so 30% of the industry that you're thinking of, and this can apply again to any industry, are the people who are really stinking stuck. They don't want to be in the 60% that I just mentioned, but they're also never going to do what it takes to get to the next level. So 60% of that industry is like really supportive and willing to do what it takes from a employment perspective. But 30% of the industry is always trying to be an entrepreneur. I call them entrepreneurs, and constantly has an idea that never comes to fruition or never comes to fruition fully. You know those people. There's always a new website domain they're buying. They've created a podcast. They want you to like something on their social media so it looks like they're cooler than they are. They're just those people. They're the people who are always in that entrepreneur mindset, but never really willing to take the investment, the risk, or the strategy that's needed to get to that upper 10%. Now, full disclosure, I work with the upper 10%. So of this kind of algorithm that I'm talking to you about, I really don't spend a lot of time with the 60 or the additional 30% that I'm speaking about today. But I spend a ton of time with the top 10% earners in most of the industries that I support. And this is the thing I think that's pivotal to share with you. There is a makeup of a person who gets to the upper echelon, the top of their industry and what they create. Oftentimes it's incredibly different. It's not a copycat. It's not a Me Too. It's not based on solely hype. It is a offering or a service or a business that suits a need and fills that need in a way that people cannot avoid buying, taking part in, or appreciating the business or the service or product that they've created. The other thing that I think is incredibly important about this upper 10% is that they're incredibly savvy with money. Can I say that again? They're incredibly savvy with money. Now, In some ways, you may argue that some of these people are savvy with other people's money. Maybe they've taken on venture capital or, turned a loan and made it into something great. But I'm actually not that focused on that part of their money. I'm focused on how they manage their money, both from a business perspective and from a personal perspective. And what I find is when you're laser focused on what actually helps you earn, on what actually brings a better product or service to your community or your following, there ain't no time to be messing around with stupid purchases, decisions made without any sort of strategy or intention. And at the same time, you also know that you absolutely must invest in order to be successful. So it's a very interesting nuance of this 10%, this top 10%, because they both are good with money in that they don't overspend. They're not necessarily on a budget. They're just smart about what's needed and needs to be spent on and what's a nice to have and not necessarily a must have. But they are firmly ingrained in the concept of investment in their education, investment in things that they don't do well that someone else does, certainly in advisory, coaching, consulting, agency. That's usually where I step in and help them to make more money, frankly, and to grow whatever it is that they're have built. And so there is a recipe for success if you break down those very core, very simple things that make the top 10% the top 10%. And I want to encourage you today, regardless of if you're in that bottom 60%, or maybe the next 30% after that, or if you're in the top 10% and thinking, can it get any better? Hint, it can. I really believe that these are things we need to have frank discussions about. Whether it's, if you're in the top 10%, figuring out and identifying those employees of yours that may be in the 30%, that you can nurture and grow and train into what I call a great entrepreneur. They may never get to the point of being in the top 10%, earning for themselves and growing, but boy, they can help you grow your empire in a way that feels great for them, that provides stability, and that helps you to have someone to grow with. And if you are in the 30% and really frustrated that you haven't yet cracked the top 10% code, I think it's time to look in the mirror and make some really tough decisions. What are you really willing to do? What are you willing to invest? What are you willing to change? Where are you stuck? And yeah, sure, look for outside help if that's something you have the resources and desire for. But even internally, have some really frank conversations with yourself about how serious you are about this insert thing that you're trying to achieve here. And by the way, the reason for this is actually not to get you to the top 10% necessarily. Remember, I believe there need to be people at all levels, but maybe it's for you to realize that you are better off right where you are, and you need to find a business, a person, an environment where you can grow and be stable. Meaning you can be that entrepreneur that an entrepreneur is looking for to partner with, to help co-manage, to invest in, to grow. And that is a very respectable place to be in your life, in your journey of whoever you're desiring to grow into. And maybe in the future, as you glean from someone who's more successful, who has the makeup and intentions that you desire, you may find yourself in the top 10% one day. It's every bit about this, right? The mind, as it is about your action. And that could be one part of your actions that you're not quite dialed into yet. And then let me say this to those of you that may be in that bottom 60%, and maybe you're quite happy where you are. I applaud you, because we need people like you. We need people who are willing to support, people who are willing to clock in, people who are willing to serve. And I actually think it's a very special place that someone can be content and happy being right where they are, doing right what they're doing, and finding peace and joy in that. I think that's actually pretty cool. And if you're in that 60% where you truly desire to get to the next level, maybe for you it is starting to come up with some ideas or dabble in business, I think it's incredibly important to once again check your intentions, check your resources, but more importantly, perhaps it's how serious are you? Because getting out of that 60% is extremely challenging. So are you willing to do more than read books? Are you willing to surround yourself with people that you're not currently in connection with so that you can change the 6 or 5 people that influence you? Hint, that's a huge one. Who you surround yourself with, what you put into your brain and into your action is an incredibly important part of your next step. And finally, if you're in that 60% and you're just not quite sure why you haven't made it to that next level, that, next 30%, I want you to think about how you've been considering yourself, considering your future, considering your journey. And to be honest, I think you may find that you have very limiting thoughts, a very one-track mind of what success looks like. And I'm here to tell you that you can break that. It's going to take quite a bit of work, quite a bit of change, but I do know it's possible. And as someone who has worked at every level of what I'm speaking about, right? I've actually started out at the bottom 60%. I came from nothing. I grew into that 30% role quite easily, frankly, and quite seamlessly, but I knew I wanted more and I was unrelentless until I got there. And now I'm at a level of success where I can actually support the top 10% because I am above that. And so I wish for you, no matter where you are, exactly what the desire of your heart is, what your actions show, and where you're willing to invest. So I'm willing to believe I may ruffle some feathers with this very frank talk about industry and growth and work. And I know that work is kind of a touchy subject right now, and I want to be clear. I believe that anything can happen. I believe you can create the life that you want. And I actually believe that there is nothing, no government, no person, no background or issue that can stop you. And I'm here to encourage you and wish you well on your journey. I'm KK, and I'll love to see you in the top 10% very soon.